The Days of Our Dementia.
Don't run from your own truth.
Don't run around with others' burdens on your shoulders or bearing the weight of some illusionary cross of dissonance.
You can choose to be a player or a director of this life.
To continue in the days of your or our dementia, turning like the world round and round without much hope,
With days of confusion.
with disease and stress and unexpected upsets,
Or stop that madness and learn to remain centered and create solid boundaries and a living sanctuary.
bringing us back into full consciousness.
So we know what it feels like without the crutch that we walk around with crippled in our consciousness.
We begin to hide behind the facade that we are helpless or hopeless.
Or hate everything and everyone, or feel like we need to rescue people from themselves or their world.
We grow to expect it around every corner.
And when it does not show up, we create it in our thoughts.
Through the fear of it showing up and in continuing to bring us into conflict.
Belief is a powerful villain, as well as a powerful ally to every victim or the innocent.
My name is Seraphim with Sovereign Alliance.
And I am Aeon with Coorperation Gaia.
And given the shift that we're going into, we wanted to put together a video with some actual tangible tools. This was actually a birthday gift gifted to me from Aeon, and it transcended a lot of things that I was emotionally dealing with. It gave me actual tools that I could work with, not just emotionally, not just physically, but mentally, as all three of those things aligning is what brings us into a higher state of consciousness and awareness, and that's ultimately the goal. So I wanted to first absolutely acknowledge Ian for gifting me with that. Acknowledgement is very, very important to me as far as keeping the integrity with that. So we put together quite an extensive explanation to helpfully help, well, not hopefully,
Definitely two.
to help everyone else to
Get it.
Get it. Not everybody's going to get it, but everybody will get it. Okay. All right, so we call this
Days of Our Dementia. And the reason why we call it Days of Our Dementia is because when you exist within the construct that we're about to share with you, which will be very familiar to you, the terms at least, it creates a crazy life, a crazy loop. Chaos. And the end result of that is dementia on the mental, emotional, and physical levels.
Absolutely. I also like that it's a reference to being dramatic, the kind of soap opera mentality,
Yes.
and kind of putting a little bit of light and a little bit of fun into not being so serious with all of these tools. I think it's good to laugh at yourself. It's good to help heal when you can laugh through something. So if you can make a joke out of it, call it the Days of Your Dementia, like a soap opera
that we all may know.
Then yeah, you'll see how we can put a little bit of play into it. So, but first on a very real note, why don't you start explaining the three primary characters?
Is the villain, and these can go in any order. We choose to put it as a top-down order, and so the villain sits at the top, the victim sits in the right-hand corner, and the hero sits in the left-hand corner. Mind you, that hero can be both a regular, real hero as well as a false hero.
Explain
Yeah.
all of those. Let's start with real hero.
So, the real hero is the one who, an example of a real hero would be the guy walking down the street who comes across a home that's on fire. And he doesn't think, he acts, he, she. And that person enters the home, rescues those who are capable of being rescued, and and usually leaves the scene before even being thanked. That's relevant, irrelevant, according to the person, which will make more sense later as well. But the real hero doesn't do it for gratification.
Or wanting thanks of any kind. Doesn't even really think that they did anything, did any action that was of heroic nature. So it doesn't register for them. It's just purely
an act of integrity.
Yeah. Unconsciously, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Instinctual.
Instinctual, definitely instinctual.
And unconditional. 100% unconditional. So getting then into what a false hero is. A false hero is someone that, one aspect of a false hero is someone that preys on victimhood, someone that they can see is either going through a hard time or is in that relationship with themselves and the world, and intentionally takes advantage of them, premeditated advantage, as in they want to see, they'll only take the action, once he or she weighs the options or the benefits versus the consequences to them. So it's very self-fulfilling.
Selfish.
But then I also think the false hero, when we were talking about it, the false hero can be someone who will try to come in and console.
Again, with an agenda.
It can be. And that can be an unconscious agenda.
Sure.
Because a lot of times, we're all, I was almost going to say we're all victims of this, but we all want to maybe help our friends.
Sure.
We want to console them. And this isn't make wrong, this isn't making it bad or good. It's just recognizing the parts that we step into.
Or that we allow others to step into.
Or that we allow others to step into, and the relationship that we have with ourselves and the world and others. And like I said, we'll get into all of that and really breaking it down so that there can be conscious behavior, conscious awareness, and especially conscious communication. So,
potentially a change in our culture, the way that we deal with each other, redeveloping a space of intimacy.
Absolutely.
So the victim, we're all familiar with victims, and we've chosen a couple key points that everybody will be fairly familiar with, and two of the highest forms of victimization in this culture, in this society, on this world, are women and the blind. Many don't know this, but the blind have the highest statistic of violence against them than any other race, creed, or sex. They are victimized far more than anyone else on this planet, simply because they're blind.
And I even said, I was like, who would do anything to a blind person? Like, why would you do that? And then your answer was?
The villain.
Of course.
So
Sorry, we've been laughing at ourselves a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Once you can recognize it and be okay with it and allow yourself to just see all of it humbly, I think you can start to have a lot of fun with it. Let's see, where are we?
So the victim is lazy by nature.
Yes.
The victim gives up their power to anyone, anything, ideas, things, people, places. They give up completely who they are, their self-esteem, every place that they may find strength and courage to confront a situation or to be confronted by a situation. That is a victim. A victim is this example of a victim would be a woman who is in an abusive situation, whether it be a relationship with a significant other or in a career that allows them to be exploited so that they can advance. So they have to compromise their morals and their ethics in order to be seen and to achieve some form of success.
Equally, you can say the same thing about men.
Yes.
In the same.
Absolutely.
What you say about one gender, you have to say about the next. So it's not just women being a victim, but there are some women who victimize men.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
use certain abilities, be it possibly sexual, be it controlling, manipulative, controlling, withholding certain things, stuff like that. So women can equally partake in this. It's not segregated to just one, but primarily, we're talking about how society for such a long time has looked at women as being, either underneath men or, men being of higher stature or more in power or more qualified or all of the different things that gender sets in place. And to a certain extent, women are equally responsible for taking on that role. Just to call it out and be blunt, some women are like, oh, well, let me just find a man who can pay for everything and, take care of me, and, I'll just sit at home and do nothing. I don't have to step into my power. I don't have to step in and, actually take any action in anything in life or create anything. I'll just let someone else do it. Equally so, some men do the same thing. And women are more than happy to pay for everything, to, we won't get into all those different reasons and whatnot. We're just explaining what has been in society and
How it may show up.
How it may show up, exactly. And yes, demanding and controlling bosses, manipulative, controlling.
Career choices that put us in a position to be controlled and demeaned.
Yeah. So the villain.
So the villain is those people who choose to play that role that victimize. The villain is the one who will verbally, as Serah said, verbally vomit abusive, slander, character slaying words and actions that create that what would be maybe said put people in their place. And which is always, again, top down. It's always the lowest part of the food chain. It's the lowest status, the most easily controlled.
Explain, I think, for everyone just exactly what you mean by top down.
So we exist in a culture or society that looks at Darwinian type survival of the fittest, top of the food chain, king of the mountain, conquer, using, war to achieve order.
Fear. Also.
Yes, using techniques, much of our society, and many of the techniques by villainous plotters is utilizing the specific tool of fear to create this social
chaos,
dementia,
yes,
yes.
In what we're in absolutely right now. And I think, yes, December 21st being a major shift, but it's also everyone thinking the fear then, and
apocalypse.
That's the apocalypse and what's used as that. But this is going to transcend past, especially December 21st. These are tools to, December 21st is the end of the Mayan calendar, but the beginning of absolutely a new cycle, a new creation. We're at the end of our conscious evolution, and so now we have an opportunity to begin new things. So it's getting rid of these old programs and really understanding what they are and identifying them and being precise with identifying them.
And maybe even coming to an understanding and an innerstanding that due to the fact that we exist in a world where villains are showcased, that the residual effects of this are typically last into the age. So we spend the first, some would say we're already in the age of Aquarius. Let's just use the date of December 21st of this year as that pinnacle, that point where we come into a new vibration, a new frequency. There's cosmic energy coming down that hasn't been here in 26,000 years, and all of these things are going to provide us with the potential of a miracle in our lives that will teach us and share with us what ease and grace looks like. And with a villainous type past, we typically drag into these new beginnings with little chatter in our mind about, well, things will always be the same and things will never change. And the villains teach us this, because the villains show up in so many forms that it's overwhelming to think that there could ever be an existence without that
And
force.
that's those sentences or statements, those in themselves are actually victimizing our own society, ourselves in society, our relationship to society. That's just like, okay, well, nothing's ever going to change, so I'm the victim of, the way the world is. It's the mindset. So again, it's bringing it back to understanding the words that come out of your mouth and the relationship that you have with society and other people. So continuing with the villain, yes, one that is verbally bashing to someone else, character slaying, suppresses, oppresses, and represses another person, all with this intent. Blame, using fear as a tool, causing harm to not only someone else, but actually themselves as well, intentionally.
Plotters.
What?
Plotters. Scheme,
Yes.
plot.
Yes. Set from old programs. Some people might think that that it is unintentional, but if that's something that you've grown up with, if that's something that you've only learned from your parents, or you were bullied, so now you're a victim to that, in which case you become that which you were affected by. Sending negative thoughts. We all talk about how powerful our thoughts are. They're just as powerful as words. They carry energy. They carry electromagnetic energy. And they do create. They do manifest into physical form. 100%. Anyone who thinks that they don't, watch.
Truly. Thoughts become deeds.
Thoughts become deeds, yes. And with that deeds, a villain will do deeds that wish bad things to happen to someone else, or doing.
Yeah, creating the scenario themselves, playing that full role of acting in accord with someone's need to be victimized. So, and that goes again to they'll be in almost, it's not harmony, but they'll connect with the person that needs that. So it's like if one person is playing the victim role, they'll connect with the person who is a villain so that they can continue playing the victim role. Typically, when a victim and villain meet each other, it's always right timing.
To learn a lesson. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So, these are just things to be aware of. Equally, we have the ego, which everybody is familiar with, but we're going to absolutely throw it right in the mix, because this plays a huge part, because not only do you have your own personality, but you have your ego personality. I myself see my ego outside of myself and a little bit over to the left.
I see my ego as emotional alarm, and what lets me know, it's my meta-awareness, lets me know that something is coming into my field that I need to pay attention to. Whether that thing that comes into my field resonates or not is the choice that I make at the point in time.
And it's not making it a bad thing, but it's being in relationship with it and understanding.
An alliance.
An alliance, absolutely. Not making it bad or wrong, like, well, in a lot of conversation it has been. Oh, the ego's bad. Oh, you have to get rid of the ego. The ego's never going to disappear. Ever. Absolutely ever. But it is being in relationship to it to the extent that you will